Hi, this is Craig Lane with Health Alchemy, week 17 of 2013 video blog. Today is a bit of a interesting topic. It's been with me a long time. A little backstory is I used to go to the Bioneers conferences in San Francisco, and the Bioneers were sort of like biological pioneers. And this was back probably in the early 90s, mid 90s. Yeah, like close to 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, I saw Paul Stamets talking about the famous mycologist, called him the mushroom expert. And I heard him talking about and showing a slideshow and of the fungal mycelium. So what we see as the mushroom, in other words, if this is a mushroom here, the mycelium or the actual body of the mushroom is below the soil line. If the soil line is here, the mushrooms we see up here, which are the sex organs, if you will, you see them in terms of sex, then the sex organs up here, and in other words, here's a drawing of it. So if you see, there's the mushroom there, there's the mycelium below here, and there's been some so the mycelium's down below the soil line, which is here. So they've reported up in Washington way back in the day that there's a mycelium that's hundreds of miles large, maybe in, I believe it's in Oregon or Washington, and it communicates. So basically the point was, if you go to the link on the description of this YouTube, you'll go to my website and there's another link to an article I recently wrote with some other links that you can get within that article and read about it yourself. Some things that, there's a link to a Waldorf article, there's a link to Paul Stamets, and there's another link. Where did I send that other link? There's another link to an article about how trees communicate. So if we're looking at how trees communicate and how fungus has this interesting balance with the roots of plants in the soil, and we also see that most of our atmosphere is actually nitrogen, which is what all protein molecules are made of, then the premise of my how humans and plants are complementary opposites will begin to make a bit more sense. So the plant brain, on that premise of Paul Stamets' work, is that if the mycelium of the fungus is below the ground and it's communicating, and the fungus, how trees communicate, is basically through this network in the soil of the roots and the mycelium of funguses and all that, then what we've got is an invert, right? The human brain up here, which isn't the only communication device we have to perceive with. We can also perceive with our heart and with our gut through the enteric nervous system and the, we could call it the nervous system around the heart, which has a lot of electrical activity, which is why people really fail to nourish themselves with enough minerals and B vitamins, which are the two main nutrients for the heart. So what we end up with is this inversion, right? Human brain up here, plant brain in the soil. Then we also look at the other inversion that's one of my favorites, is that the plant sex organs are in the flower. Flowers are plant sex. Flowers open, they're waiting to be pollinated by a critter, or sometimes they self-pollinate, but nevertheless, they're very bright, they attract things to them, they attract our eye, and they may even attract hummingbirds and so things. And then the plant's seed or fruit that contains the seed is ultimately the progeny or the next generation. So plants have these interesting ways. I believe plants perceive. I know because I've been sort of aware of this for over 20 years, if not 30. And I believe that plants want to propagate, and they use, sometimes a bird will eat the seeds and then they poop it out miles away. Sometimes you have seeds like dandelion, maybe that little puffball, and the wind blows it away, and then they propagate elsewhere. Then there's all these strategies that plants have to propagate or reproduce themselves. Humans, being mobile, have that. So if the plant sex organ's on top, the human sex organ's down in the roots. Again, a complementary opposite. Another one that's very obvious that most people probably don't think about is that humans exhale oxygen, and we use that to fuel our growth in cells. Plants inhale our waste, which is carbon dioxide. We inhale oxygen, which the plant uses the carbon dioxide, takes in the carbon, which also takes in the carbon and the minerals from the soil, takes in the carbon from the air that we exhale, and carbon's used to build tissue. Carbon, nitrogen are building blocks, amongst others, amongst all the minerals too. But the basis of organic life as we know it, as some people state, maybe there's silicon-based life, who knows? I'm not certain that I know this stuff, and nor would I pretend to, is that the plant exhales oxygen, which is what humans use. So we have this very cool little cycle we have here. So really, I'm bringing this to our attention because humans and plants have evolved over millennia. And I believe that the history that we've been taught has been altered, that the history that actually has happened on the planet has been a cyclical one. I believe there has been other generations on this planet, other civilizations that have far exceeded our own technology, and they reached the level of sort of a critical mass test that either they failed the test, or in the natural cycles the humans got to a certain level of, because if humans are connected to the earth, then the earth had a bloom, humans are part of that bloom, and then they're swallowed up. The legend of Noah's Ark and the floods, the legend of Atlantis, the legend of the continent of Mu. There's just too much going on that has been suppressed, and I've had a passion for this my whole life, so I read a lot and check out a lot and meditate a lot on this, and I do believe that so plants and humans have had this ongoing relationship, and this time around I kind of feel like humans are going to get it right, and the earth has again bloomed us because we are its way of communicating as cells to sort of save the biosphere. Who knows? Just a little, I love throwing stuff out there. Those of you who are following me probably know. Make you think a bit, because I got all this shit going around in my consciousness, and it's just lovely to have that sort of entertainment in the background, especially when I'm sitting quietly meditating, or in those moments where where you're sitting and like trying to think, but it's sort of like thinking's just going on, and there are moments where it's quiet. So just some things to consider. This is going to be a shorter blog, and I'm going to do another longer one here in just a minute. And again, please email me, get me requests if you like any other video blogs. We're going to go into some more practical stuff, but I'm also mentioning this because plants, we need to eat plants. And plants and fruits, vegetables, fruits and herbs, in my humble opinion, and based on my experience and those of many people like me, 2/3 of our volume, not talking calorie-wise, but volume-wise, should be, to optimize our health, should be that. Because macronutrient-rich foods, such as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, you don't need much volume to get the energy you need from them. We need the micronutrients to digest the macronutrients, and that's where we've gone wrong in allowing ourselves to be duped by the powers that be, that we can eat white flour and be okay. We can eat white sugar and these refined substances without any of the supportive micronutrients, including all the debatably 85, 95, 100 trace minerals that help the electrical activity and enzymes and things that help digest the building blocks, or the protein, carbs, and fats, or the energy producing food, which are basically carbohydrates. And then we don't get enough of the micronutrients or the vitamins, which, again, watch my video blog. Vitamins are not chemicals. They are living processes. They are verbs. They are not nouns. Verbs are action words. So we don't get enough of those in our diet, we degenerate. And because we become, one, acidic and irritated and inflamed, then our DNA, the building blocks that make new cells, aren't made properly. We don't make new cells, and then we end up with 5, 6, 7 stages down the road with cancer. And we wonder, how did I get that? Well, we don't get things. We develop them over time. Sure, we get illness, but we were predisposed to that illness through our own choices. So one of the things I really want a takeaway here is, use plants and now see them for what they are. They're here to help us. And 2, walk away with a sense of eating more plant foods, more raw foods. Again, I'm not a raw foodist, is going to help your health. So this is a video blog, week 17, Craig Lane signing out. Looking forward to many more of these in the future, all 52 this year. Thank you very much.